sweet friends, I hope you are all doing well. I've got a couple of fun fold cards to share today that are so easy to make, and they create such a unique display. I'm sharing the same gatefold style, but with two different card measurements, so you can see how flexible that design is. And of course, I have measurements for you throughout the process, so you'll be able to create these for yourself. And that sounds good to you, then stick around and we'll make these together. Here are those spring bunny tags. Now I just opened this in Word. I clicked the corner and drug that in so that I could scale these a little better for the card projects that I want to make. I picked out the two that I wanted to use. I clipped them out, leaving a border of the white cardstock showing around so that it would look more like a packaged ephemera. I added it to thicker cardstock and cut that out, and then I added an eyelet and some twine and foam tabs, and this will help me to build up a little bit of dimension. Now our first card will wind up to be a 6x6 standard size, and I'm going to start with my 65-pound weight cardstock. The first piece for the base is going to be 9.5 by 6. And then I'm going to come in and score it at 3.5. The second piece to create the base is going to be 2.5 by 12. It's scored at 3 and also 9. I'm just going to add that right to the bottom so that it will create the gate portion. Just lining that up as I go along. Now you can see how that will open. We want to fill the inside with those pretty pattern papers. The cardstock measurement for this is 5 7/8 by 5 7/8. The pattern paper is 5 3/4 by 5 3/4, and that is going to cover that area where we joined those two pieces together. I would come in and add a section for a sentiment to be added, or even add it to the back so that it wouldn't show when this card is displayed. Okay, so now we want to begin to cover the front. I have that same pretty pattern paper for the top, and the measurement for this is going to be 3 3/8 high by 5 7/8 wide. The pattern paper is 3 1/4 by 5 3/4, and that is just going to be centered on this top portion. So I'll get the border of that pretty pink cardstock as well as the white cardstock from the base. This is also going to add a great amount of sturdiness to this card because we're adding so many paper layers. Now we want to cover this bottom portion, and so we're basically dividing that in half. I have a cardstock measurement of 2 3/8 by 2 7/8. And the pattern paper is 2 1/4 by 2 3/4. I have the same pattern for both sides, and you can see that I just picked a different scale. Here I have a geometric that's quite small, and then a floral that is quite large, so that it will be a definite layering pattern. And so I'm going to center that, same as I did with the top piece. I'll do that for this side. Now we can add all of those pretty details for the cover, and normally if something was a shorter length or height, I would try and focus all of it on the portion that would be solid, but for this card I'm going to position this a little bit lower, and you'll see why in just a second. So I am putting my adhesive on only a portion of the back of this doily, and I'll add my 2 glue combo here. This will be offset. Don't want to accidentally glue those together, and this will be a nice way to break up some of that busy pattern. Now I've got another layering pattern and another border of that pretty pink cardstock, and you can see I have brought in a typography, and so that's just another different style of pattern so that they don't look too busy. And I've got my image here. I printed that, as I said, and popped that up on a spacer, and I also have some pretty twine here. This is going to be offset. Now, because I have a little bit of room here on that doily, I can bring this down a bit onto that doily, and that will leave room on top for a pretty floral arrangement. I've got my arrangement here created with some pretty flowers from Really Reasonable Ribbon. These are chrysanthemums and cherry blossoms. I also have a lotus flower. I did swap out the center for the double head stamens that I thought would coordinate a little better. I finished that with die cut foliage, netting loopy twine bows, and this really beautiful pink wrinkle ribbon to create 2 small bows here for the top. And I will add that with a little bit of hot glue just so that I'm sure it's well secured. And being very careful to keep that glue away from those layers that I want still to be able to separate. You see that will come up just fine. If you want to make your own flowers and make them non-dimensional, that would be a great way to make this a better fit for a standard size envelope. But you know, I really love to add all of those layers. So I'm going to finish this off with some sweet little bunny charms, adding that with hot glue. Cut off the excess string there, and I'm just topping that cut end with a pretty button. And then I'm going to just finish this off with 3 beautiful little sequins here to help balance the flowers on the other corner. I'm just adding these with my Tombow. And that's going to be our square 6x6 gatefold card. It will be difficult to show on camera, so I'm just going to pull this up and then I'll flip it back over. But you'll see how I have positioned that doily so that a portion of it can go behind the gatefold portion on the bottom. And so when that's displayed, it kind of catches there and holds everything in place. So this is going to be the square version of that gatefold. So now we'll move on to the 5x6.5 inch card. And so my first piece of the 65 pound weight cardstock is going to be 10.5 by 5. And then I'm going to score it at 6.5. And so when that folds over, that will be our standard size greeting card. Our additional layer for this, the gatefold portion, is going to be 2.5 by 10. It's scored at 2.5 and 7.5. And we'll join that the same as we did for our first card, just layering that on right to the bottom and keeping it to level with the sides. The portion that will fill the back is going to be 6 3/8 by 4 7/8. The pattern paper is 6 1/4 by 4 3/4. And just like on our first card, that back piece is going to cover where we've joined those 2 base pieces together. So let's flip that over and cover the top portion. My cardstock for this is 3 7/8 by 4 7/8. The pattern paper is 3 3/4 by 4 3/4. And we're going to add that same as we did for the first card, leaving the cardstock border and the base border showing. And then we get to the gatefold portion. This is going to be a cardstock measurement of 2 3/8 by 2 3/8. The pattern paper is 2 1/4 by 2 1/4. And of course we have 2 of these for the bottom portion. So you can see that we're just changing the measurements, but we're keeping the process the same, dividing the front of the card into different quadrants so that we can fill it and then add our details for the top. Same with the first one. We've got my doily cut out here, and I'll add my 2 glue combo. Position this one so that it overlaps. Topping it with our layering pattern. To coordinate with this card, I picked the bunny with that sweet little blue-green dress, and I'm going to add that with the spacers and the eyelet and the twine. You can also add detail to this by adding some stickles. Here is the flower arrangement. This is the same flowers, but obviously in a different color palette, but I think you can see that it coordinates perfectly. And of course, I'm adding my ribbon trim for this and having 2 smaller bows just to create a nice balance. I didn't really like where that portion of the leaf was falling, so I just removed that so that it wouldn't cover too much of that image. So as with the same on the first card, I'm going to add my little charms here. I had an ambition to create a gatefold in a slimline profile as well, but I did have a little back injury this week, and so it was difficult for me to sit in my chair and get any work done. And so I did the best I could, and so we're going to have 2, and I think that's good. If you're interested in the gatefold in a slimline profile, you can just let me know in the comments and I'll work on that. I'm putting 3 sequins on this card as well, and that's going to finish up the detail for the front, and it offers a nice balance to the flowers there in the other corner. I have those attached now. I can pick this up and show you that it would fit the same way as that square card you see, and it kind of sits, and that doily will work underneath the gatefold portion. And so I think that makes a really fun and unique display. That's going to be it for our cards today. I really hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And remember, you can find links in the description. And as always, I'm wishing you a happy and productive day. I thank you so much for watching. Bye.